Bananas are one of the most familiar fruits in the world. Soft, sweet, and easy to eat, they are often seen as simple and uniform. Their smooth texture and pale color give the impression of something uncomplicated. But very few people ever think about what a banana looks like beyond what we can see. In this video, a small piece of banana is placed onto a microscope slide. As it is gently pressed and prepared, its familiar shape immediately disappears. The soft flesh spreads into uneven layers across the glass. What once felt smooth now becomes irregular and textured. At first glance, the sample appears light and opaque. Different tones blend together, forming cloudy regions. Some areas look dense and compact, while others appear more translucent. This contrast hints at the banana's high water content, mixed with starches and fibers. The edges of the sample are uneven and flowing. They reflect how easily banana tissue breaks and shifts under pressure. Tiny rounded formations begin to appear throughout the surface. These shapes suggest trapped moisture and internal components dispersed within the fruit. Bananas ripen through complex internal changes. Starches slowly transform into sugars. Cell walls soften and moisture redistributes itself. All of these processes leave traces inside the fruit. Under the microscope, the banana starts to feel less like a snack and more like a living structure shaped by growth and ripening. This is where the journey begins, and with a fruit everyone knows, revealed in a completely unfamiliar way. At 80 times magnification, the banana sample spreads across the slide as a pale, uneven layer with soft boundaries. The surface immediately appears fragile and lightly textured. There is no sense of firmness or sharp structure at this scale. Instead, the sample looks hydrated and loosely organized. Large translucent regions dominate the field of view. These areas allow light to pass through easily, giving the image an airy and almost foggy appearance. They reflect the high water content that defines the banana's soft texture in everyday use. The edges of the sample are smooth but irregular. They form gentle curves rather than straight lines. This suggests how banana tissue flows and deforms under even slight pressure. Scattered throughout the slide are small, rounded shapes. They vary in size and appear suspended within the surrounding material. Some are isolated, while others appear in loose groups. The background is lightly granular. Fine particles are spread unevenly across the image. Some regions appear almost empty, while others look slightly denser. At this level, the banana feels extremely delicate. It no longer resembles a solid fruit. Instead, it appears as a soft, hydrated mass held together by minimal internal structure. This first magnification gives a general impression of banana as a fruit dominated by water and gentle organization. It sets the foundation for the complexity that begins to appear as magnification increases. At 200 times magnification, the internal organization of the banana becomes more visible and defined. The field of view now shows clearer separation between different regions. The structure begins to feel less uniform and more layered. Some areas appear slightly denser and more textured. Others remain smooth and translucent. This contrast creates a visual rhythm across the slide. Rounded formations become more prominent at this scale. They appear embedded within the surrounding material rather than floating freely. Their shapes are more clearly defined, and their boundaries stand out against the background. These rounded bodies vary in size and distribution. Some cluster together while others remain isolated. This uneven arrangement adds depth and complexity to the image. Thin, elongated lines begin to emerge more clearly. They stretch across the slide following gentle, organic curves. These lines suggest fibrous elements within the banana tissue. The background becomes more densely filled with fine granules. Tiny particles occupy much of the available space. This gives the image a subtle texture that was not visible at lower magnification. At this level, the banana starts to feel internally organized. It no longer appears as a simple soft mass. Instead, it looks like a system made of layers, moisture, and embedded structures. This magnification helps explain the banana's creamy consistency and smooth mouthfeel. Softness and structure begin to coexist visually. At 800 times magnification, the banana transforms into a complex microscopic landscape. The field of view becomes dense with detail. Very little empty space remains. Fibrous structures now dominate the image. They crisscross and overlap, forming a loose but interconnected network. These fibers vary in thickness, length, and direction. Some fibers appear smooth and continuous. Others look fragmented or slightly frayed. This variation suggests different stages of cellular breakdown during ripening. Between the fibers, numerous rounded bodies are visible. They appear trapped within the network, adding depth to the structure. These formations vary in size and often cluster along fibrous paths. The background is filled with countless tiny particles. They create a granular texture that surrounds every larger structure. The image feels busy and layered. The contrast between solid-looking fibers and softer surrounding material becomes very strong. This contrast defines much of the banana's internal architecture at this scale. At this magnification, the banana no longer looks simple or smooth. It appears engineered by biological processes. Structure and softness are clearly intertwined. This level explains how bananas remain soft while still holding together. The internal framework becomes visible for the first time. At 2,000 times magnification, the banana becomes almost completely abstract. Nothing here resembles fruit anymore. The familiar idea of food disappears entirely. Individual fibers are now clearly visible in fine detail. They appear thin, elongated, and tightly intertwined. Some fibers run parallel to each other while others intersect at sharp angles. The surfaces of these fibers show subtle texture. Some look smooth and uniform. Others appear rough, irregular, or partially broken. The spaces between fibers are crowded with microscopic particles. These particles vary greatly in size and shape. They create a dense visual field with almost no empty space. Rounded structures sit along fibrous edges. They follow contours and repeat across the image. This repetition forms subtle patterns throughout the field of view. Some regions appear highly organized and layered. Others look chaotic and fragmented. This contrast gives the image depth and a sense of movement. At this level, the banana feels less like food and more like a microscopic system. A system shaped by growth, ripening, enzymatic activity, and time. This hidden world exists inside a fruit people eat every day, yet it remains completely unseen in normal life. Looking this closely changes how familiar fruits feel. It reveals complexity where we expect simplicity. If exploring these hidden structures feels fascinating, there are many more everyday foods waiting to be discovered. Follow the channel to see what else hides beneath the surface, and watch the next video to continue exploring the microscopic world.